We have been searching from ear to ear, struggling in the search of our emancipation. Emancipate your soul and mind. So if we want to see our struggling pain, so when tomorrow come, we don't forget. Stay home, save and enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Emancipation on life. Stay home with your family and have a good time. Emancipate, celebrate, debate, time to unite. Everybody come and join us in the Raizal Emancipation. Everybody come and join us in the Raizal Emancipation. Me say me want to know we join us in the Raizal Emancipation. People have been you to join us in the Raizal Emancipation.
Welcome to the Raizal Celebration Week. Today we have some very special theme to discuss with you. Remember, this is a Raizal celebration. For this discussion, we have a very special team panelists that are here to speak with all of you. We have Mr. Roy Newbar, activist and one of the founders of the MNSD group. Now we have Eileen Hooker, young Raizal business student in the city of Medellin. Also we have Grayburn Livingston, a Raizal youth leader with a Magister in Caribbean Studies. And then Juan Ramirez, community leader, Raizal activist, and a promoter of the human rights. And we end with Mr. Wal Hayes, member of the Raizal Authority and human rights activist. So be there because we come in with our first topic for the day. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. That is the first chapter that we are going to bring to you. And we want you to be very attentive at this theme. Okay? Why Black Lives? You know, this slogan, born in the United States, and now is around the whole world. Because the oppression that the black people are receiving. So we have to do something about this. And Black Lives Matter. And some people say about why black lives? Our lives matter. Mr. Wall, we want to know about your opinion in this Black Lives Matter. Do you believe it's more relevant and all lives matter?
Well, according to human rights, all life matters, or all humans have the same rights. But the evolution of history tells you something contrary. The larger amount of people or conglomeration exercise racism or even exercise power over lesser groups of people. During Second World War, all of you all know that it started because of a matter of racism, and it gone further on. And
well, do you believe in these times that we are living, all lives matter, or you believe we can face more to this Black Lives Matter? Because remember what is happening in the world. What happened to Floyd? What happened to more people that be oppressed just by their color? What do you believe about this?
All life matters. But in this situation that is happening here in the world, it had been seized during the last 100 years or last 200 years all set of discrimination is based upon racism and racism against black community. And that is situation coming from up to now to slavery. So as you will say that why Black Lives Matters instead of all matters is just through the situation of discrimination and racism that is here in the world. And it's almost against black community or black people.
Grayburn, you heard Mr. Wall, right? And I want you to express yourself about this question.
I consider basically a little with what Mr. Walt said. In general, the Black Lives Matter movement barn around the structural and institutional racism that the United States have over the black communities in their territories. So basically, Black Lives Matter barn as a rage, as a way of expressing all this oppressive system that affecting the black community. So in this sense, Black life matters more than all life matters, because we always want to be into disadvantage in front of the white people and the other set of people. If you look historically and if you analyze world Latin America and United States, the black people are the one that more oppressed in this world order or the world system that we live in. So in this sense, all the structural racism that the institution they are having against the black people is an effect that is usually using violence to somehow oppress them. So in that sense, in this sense, Black Lives Matter more than all people matter. It's for the disadvantage.
I want to ask Mr. Roy, as an activist, you believe the Raizal community is facing something same or similar as this situation that we are speaking about?
Most likely, because the oppressive system, we have been under an oppressive system maybe for more than 150 years that is copying exactly or giving to us the very same treatment that black people receive all over the world. One of the things, we need to understand, remember that at the very beginning, when this started, it was considered that black people wasn't people. We were animals. They consider us as animals. And then afterward, they change and they say, okay, yes, they are people, but they do not have a soul. That means that we were incomplete. Something like that, So in order trying to justify somehow the treatment that they give to us as black community or as black people, they issue this. So therefore, I believe black people are submitted, black people are ignored, black people are pushed and are set apart all over the world just because we're black.
I want to see the point of view of a youngster. Eileen is studying in Medellin. Eileen is seeing different culture in a different place. How do you see this situation as a black student?
I can say I haven't been through any situation of racism. I have a lot of companions that study in the city of Bogota, that they are the ones that tell me that they go through this situation the most because they are different, right? They face each day that they go to the university and go to classes that people point their finger on them. Some people see them as a lower class or something like that. Some of them think that they have better capacities than us just because we are from here, from the island.
Mr. Juan, do you believe it's a necessity to create a movement here in San Andres that can try to prevent violence situation than discrimination to black people or to black Raizal?
One of the things regarding to create organization in order to struggle or to combat inequality in the Raizal society have to start with an individual consciousness, self-belonging, and a collective one also regarding your actual situation of discrimination. Is two different things regarding of discrimination and segregation, which the United States citizens, Afro-American, passed through the segregation, racism, and exclusion, economical injustice. Well, we are in the same situation in a different geographical place. The Raizal people today, we don't have a movement that would lead. I wouldn't say like unification, but at least solidarity. Because when you look on the historical process of Raizal people, sociologically, socially, and culturally, politically, and religiously, then we had been divided. But we had a sense of solidarity. You could be from a different religion, and I, but in the daily life of survival, you could say to me, Mr. Juan, you got a Hana Bosco that you can give me, or 2 coconut, and I will never deny that from you. That is the solidarity. Sometimes the sense of solidarity is more powerful in a unified situation. So I think this is the time that the Raizal people, at least today, should unify at least a philosophical or ideological platform for survival, because today we're numerically less and out of power. I might sit on the seat, but someone telling me what to do. You understand?
Today we have...
And we can say the political power excluded. Look on the assembly. Look at the assembly. So we don't have an instrument to give us the salt and the sugar in order to survive with dignity.
Mr. Grayburn, I want to ask you, you have a magister in Caribbean studies and so far. I want to ask you, how do you see San Andres, our people, our Raizal people, facing the Caribbean situation? We at the same level, or we on top?
In which sense? In racism or in what?
In the sense of unification, in the sense of solidarity, in the sense of a people that fight for the right.
I really, I believe we are below the standard level. Why? Because in the other islands in the Caribbean, we see they have a lot of different type of movement. For example, in San Andres, we don't have an ecological movement that defends nature or the rights of the land, of the biosphere, for example. In the Caribbean, we have a lot of movements against racism, and they also linked with global movements towards the rights of the black people and the black community. They had already discussed about racism within their communities. Have we as Raizal people reflect around racism within our community? Isn't our community also have level of racism as Raizal people? Or we all consider ourselves as equal within our
do you believe as Raizal, black Raizal, are we excluded out of our own territory? Do you believe that?
Of course, we can see that somehow, because we have to understand that racism is not just a perception of a person over another. Not only that, is how the institutions use this presumptuous belief over a people and use all in strength and all in power to affect socially these people. And somehow San Andres, we see the Raizal people are facing that right now because somehow we are displaced from the institutionality, even though we have Raizal people within the institution, but we see how these same institutions use all in force and all in strength to create an racist effect over the Raizal people because, and that is the way how the state operates in all in forms of colonialism and coloniality. They use all they have in an institution in order to displace people from their land, from their territory, their culture, their belief, and so on. So when we think about racism, we just can't say, no, I believe you black, you're ugly, and you're here tough. It's not only that, it's how the institution use this in order to displace other people or affect them socially. You have to have a social effect of the racism over the people.
All right. You know, something that we as a people are facing these days is a violence that is facing our young people is facing. Okay, do you believe our own people is killing, or why do you believe our own people killing Raizal? Why? What is happening?
That's a very complex question, really. It can be by... but you would have to make a sociological study because I also was asking if we can make a study of how we say crime and crime, race, or racism, crime, racism, if there is any connection between in the territory. Because somehow we don't perceive the racism like how we see in the other cities. Because all of we somehow, we have different level of racism. Maybe we don't have all this all happening in the interior. But we have to enter to analyze and to reflect over how racism operates within the island, and if all this crime between our youths are based on racism, or is just a drug affair, or is a lack of not solidarity, but a lack of relation or some social conflict that they have.
If we look historically, although Graybone mentioned that if we do have amongst native people racism or discrimination, but one of our crises is our family. That family is one of the crises. Native family, 50 years back or 30 years back, let's say 50 years back, was a family that had a sense of respect.
Okay.
And the child was educated firstly under the family direction. And now today, after 75 years or 70 years, we can see what happened to the island. Many negative ingredients stain the social level of the family of the native people, which affect the child and the child education. The native family, the native child, depicting them as Raizal people, not receiving education according to the culture, the tradition, the language, the custom, and their belief.
So, Mr. Wright, you hear what Mr. wants, right?
Yes, sir.
He's speaking about the family. The family has a very important role in this situation. Do you believe Raizal family are losing the custom, the part of the culture or the language, and this is affecting us as a people?
Brother Juan have just maybe explained really how things, as we normally say, how things used to be before, speaking maybe around 50, 60 years ago. How Raizal people really had a sense of solidarity in the family, not only in the family, but even outside. I mean, people cared for people then. People care for people then. Today, as he have says, well, we are suffering a crisis on a family level. Now, my belief, I'm not saying that it's the only reason, but one of the possibilities, one of the reasons that I do believe that have been affecting us as a family or affecting our family is because people somehow, Raizal people, and I'm referring to Raizal people, we have lost, I might call it, or I would call it, the fear of God. I mean, and I'm going to put a little bit of Christianity here. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about Christianity. We need to understand that the family was the very first institution, even before the church. Before God instituted the church, he instituted the family. And therefore the family played a very, very important role. Parents before time had authority over their children. And they had authority over their children somehow because, I might say, the model of education that was followed was the model that was instituted from a biblical viewpoint. Today, we have thrown it aside. We have pushed it aside.
Okay.
And then we have lost that respect not only to God or only to one another, but also to God. And this is the consequence that we are. One of the reasons I firmly believe is that as I said,
okay, we're coming back right now. We're going to some commercial. We're coming back right now. And remember, this is the Raizal celebration, Emancipation. Yes, we are here with the celebration of the Emancipation, Raizal community. Now, we are dealing with the theme, remember, Black Lives Matter. This movement comes out from a network in the social media about Black Lives Matter. You know, Eileen, you were my student. Eileen, I want you to tell us, how do you believe we can use the social media or the social networks to help us to see this theme as a part of us?
Okay, well, I think Black Lives Matter movement show a lot of the power where social media got. Some people underestimate it, but it's something that is really powerful. And I think right here on the island, it's a tool that we can use to get our young people back to our culture.
Mr. Wall, you believe that is only the young people can use the social media, or you believe we, all of us, can dip in it and get something out of it to create consciousness about the Black Lives Matter?
Well, first of all, I would tell us that technology was built for everybody and to better man-human relation and those things. That was the purpose of technology. Obviously, all these things with the social media, a difference of age give you your time that you dedicate to these things. Perhaps young people dedicate themselves more to social media. Elderly people that had passed, or the youth without having technology to them think maybe don't see it as so important. But the world is moving now, and there is where we have to go to the tendencies, no? These type of technologies basically was built to stay. It has been used by young people, but everybody is living there now. You have been seen past political campaign, for example, the campaign with President Obama. These social media have played an important role. But unfortunately, it is some of these things here on our island when we see that it is people are using it for things that is more for disinformation and to disinform people and to set up more ignorance than even to create consciences around things.
Mr. Grayburn, do you believe social media in the island is uniting people or is putting people apart?
I believe the importance of social media within the within the Raizal communities. I believe somehow they are unifying them around certain themes, because you can see you have different groups. For example, one of the most important groups on Facebook that we can find is what we call the Old San Andres, and people search them album or when they have a photograph from the family and things and start set it up. So somehow they created a space where you can find photographs from the early 30s, the early 40s, 50s around San Andres. And that creates a network of people and knowledge that is in the web space where everybody can access it. Somehow they make like a process of democratization of the information within this network. But in that sense, these social media are very important both for the Raizal movement and for the young Raizal people that are starting to join in the movement, because it helps us to somehow circulate information on what is happening within our community. We see like different groups. For example, we have these guys them from they have a organization in Medellin that they call the Root Project, that they make all kind of projects and they circulate it through the social media around Creole language. But I believe it's a very important reflection that we make within the movement of the Raizal people, how we can use these new technology in order to inform the people and to create catalyzed process in order to move on, like what happened with Black Lives Matters, which is a virtual space that created all this global movement. And not just that, what we call the Primavera Árabe. The Primavera Árabe was created by young people who started to use these social media to denounce the abuse of certain situations in their country, and they created a movement. But the question now is, how do we pass from a social media activism to a real activism, which is a very important project? How we care all these people that sometimes on Facebook they denounce and they go against the government or they go against a certain situation, to a real action movement in the reality, so we can advance as movement. That is one of the biggest questions that we have to ask.
We are celebrating our Raizal Emancipation, and we thank all of you, whether right there, they watch this program, because we make it with our love for all of you. We thank Mr. Roy, Eileen, Wal, Juan, and Grayburn. Grayburn, no back to me, or no? I don't know. And also you to be there watching this program. God bless you, and we see each other again.